Hi, everybody. This is Kathy L. Murphy, the Pulpwood Queen, reporting live from my little cabin in the woods, Murphy's Law in East Texas. And I've got authors from all over the country that are joining us today, and I'm going to be introducing them. I have their books with me. So first I'm going to introduce at the top of the page who set this all up, the wonderful Marilyn Simon Rothstein. She has two wonderful and very funny books. These books got me through COVID because every time I was in a depressed mood, I would pick up and reread your books because I tell everybody in all these videos that books can make me cry at a drop of a hat, but a book that can make me spit my coffee across my computer screen, now that's another story. So wave your hand. Marilyn is here. She's at the top of the page. Next up, we have Patricia Sands, and we have her book here, Drawing Lessons. And I understand you have a new book out. Hold it up too, because I don't have a copy of it.
I'm sending you a copy.
Thank you. Hopefully it'll get here before the event. But anyway, Drawing Lessons is her book. She's reporting in, you all, from Ontario, Canada. We are an international book club, right, and we are thrilled that this is all working. This technology has me amazed, Patricia, but your covers are gorgeous. We're excited. I can't wait to talk about your book.
Thank you. And I have my tiara. I have my tiara ready.
Wear it. Mine's on. It's kind of blending in with the background, but mine is a Parisian opera tiara that came from Paris. So my friend Margie gave it to me. So it's one of my favorites. Next up, we have The Last Moon Girls by Barbara Davis. And Barbara is not a newbie to the Pulpwood Queen. She was at our event last January, and she was on the funnest panel, weren't you, Barbara?
I was, because I had Marilyn on my panel.
Oh, yes, you are. You had Marilyn on your panel, and Susan Peterson was moderating the panel. And while Susan, she didn't know I was going to do this, but right before the event started, I said, oh, by the way, I'm going to go on stage, because we had the stage set up like a hair salon. I'm going to give you a big hair makeover while you interview the authors. And she goes, okay. And it went so smooth. It was so much fun. She couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. We had a really great time. So welcome back, Barbara.
Yeah, and I watched that big hair performance.
Hilarious. He could see it and she could not.
Well, it was a lot harder than it seems, because I'm used to working with a mirror, and there was no mirror. So, I couldn't walk around to see what I was doing. So the fact that it even came out. But then again, I played Truvy in Still Magnolias, was the last play I did. And I had to do hair on stage the entire time. So I'm a seasoned pro when it comes to doing hair in public. Next up, we have Valerie Taylor for What's Not Said. Yay! I'm so excited. And tell everybody that's listening today where you are at this time. Are you there?
Where is Valerie?
I don't think we have Valerie.
I don't see Valerie.
Oh, she's not here? Okay, whoops, I'm sorry. Well, let's go on to Bettye. Bettye Lee Crosby. Bettye has got A Million Little Eyes, and she just sent me the most darling, thank you, little house ornament, and a Christmas ornament with all these little accoutrements. I shared it on Facebook, but I got so many ornaments this year after Christmas because of COVID and the mailing, that I'm keeping my little tree up year long on top of my refrigerator with all the little ornaments. I've got a breathless wine bottle. I've got your little house. I've got a whole bunch. I've got a little angel at the top that's from the Low Country in Summerville, South Carolina. So I'm very excited about everything. So, and then joining us today is also my best friend, neighbor, author down the road, Stephanie Chance, with her Mamma Mia books. And I can always count on Stephanie to be here with us. She's joining from her store, Decorate Ornate, in Gladewater, Texas. And that is where all my art is located, in the gallery. So if you ever get a chance, go to www.decorateornate and check out all my new work. So thank you, Stephanie. I love you so much. I love all of you guys so much. I don't think everybody realizes how alone I've been this year. I am literally out in the woods, 15 miles from a town, an hour and more away from really, a city. And I've sat here for a year, and it's been my conversations with Marilyn and my authors throughout the year that's kept me going, because it's a little depressing, when you can't get out, and I'm a talker. So today we're going to have a book chat about all of your books. And the burning question that I want to begin with, tell us about Blue Sky Writer Book Chat. How did this all, because there's more of you, right? So
Yes.
Why don't we just start and have each one of you say a little bit something about it. We'll start at the top. We'll start with you, Marilyn.
I am so fortunate to be a member of Blue Sky Book Chat with Barbara and Betty and Patricia. And we have gotten together with 10 authors to create a place where people can go and talk about books, anything they want about books. And we have a lot of regulars that we've become friends with. And I'll pass it to Betty because Betty is one of the founders.
Yay, Betty! Good for you. Well, you're a go-getter. I love it.
It's a group of not just authors that write books, but authors that are friends. And when I invited Marilyn into the group, I read her book before. That's how I met her. I read her book, fell in love with it, and contacted her. And so it was just kismet, if you will. But we're all pretty much friends, and we just support each other. We share books. We talk to readers, and the readers love the group because it's a place to go and hear what everyone else is reading. Authors read too. So we always have our own opinions, and we share those in there. And it's just a fun group.
It's fantastic. I love the community that you've created, because it's much more powerful to be working as a community than it is individually. So thank you for that. I'm going to talk to you at the end about something I want to do next year. That's
And
really
by the
exciting.
by the way, Patricia Sands is also a founding member.
Oh, great. Good for you. So this is,
We've had a lot of good years together.
how many years would you say?
Oh gosh. Well,
7 to 8
we actually started out under another name, and we've evolved through the years, but we've all been together now for what I would say at least 5 years.
5 years. Okay.
And Patricia and
Yeah.
I have been friends for probably close to 10, right?
For sure, Betty. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Because my husband and I used to winter in Florida, and so I wasn't that far from Betty. So we would get together, often with other authors. Betty would very graciously host us at her house, and it was wonderful.
So Betty, you're down in Florida?
Yes.
That's, as I was putting all these people's emails in and checking everything, I'm trying to, work on getting the final program done with all the Zoom links. And I have more Florida authors coming than I think almost anywhere. And I go, wow, when did that all happen? But I have Joe Palmer. I have Boo Walker's permanent address is in Florida, and Mandy Haynes. And that's, usually you get 1 or 2 from a state, but I've got 4, maybe more. And then attendees too. So, and Boo's right now in Spain, but his permanent address is in Florida. So let's see, have we got everybody introduced? Yes?
I just want to say that it's easy to join Blue Sky Book Chat because it's for readers and authors. And to join, all you have to do is go to Facebook, put in Blue Sky Book Chat, and up will come the link, and you answer 2 simple questions. Name a book you've read, which I hope will be mine.
I've done that, haven't I? Haven't I done that?
Follow the rules.
Yes.
So please go to Facebook and join us. We'd love more company.
I love that. I love that you're inclusive, because in this day and age, it's so important that we're all social distancing, that we all be inclusive and not just an exclusive blog or book club. Because my book club was founded because the local book club that invited me to come and join when I went, I don't know if any of you have heard this story, but
Yeah,
I
it's a
opened
good
my hair
story.
salon bookstore and I hadn't started my book club yet. But I went to the local book club, and at the end of the meeting, as everybody's sipping their cordials in this beautiful, turn of the century, wonderful home, I said, "Oh, what are we reading next week? I can't wait." And they all look to the hostess, and she jumps up, little bitty thing, and she pulls me by the elbow out into the hallway, and whispering, she goes, "Kathy," she goes, "I don't know how to tell you this, but we didn't invite you to join our book club. We invited you as a guest. So it's just a one-time thing, okay? Unless somebody dies or moves away, we only have 8 in our book club." And she's whispering this to me, but loud enough everybody's hearing it. And I was so embarrassed. Of course, I was a lot younger then, and I was, didn't have my full voice yet. But I just said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I've overstepped my bounds. I've invited myself to a party that I'm not a part of." But when I went back into the room, nobody make eye contact with me. So I said, "Oh, look at the time to pick up the girls from school." They were in grade school. And it's interesting to note that that was the lightning aha moment of why I started the Pulpwood Queens, because I thought, who says that only 8 people can be in a book club? I think I've had as many as 150 in my book club. And then we realized that we all had to breaking up into the cities in this whole Arklatex to start more chapters, because we were all talking at once. It's a little hard when you get that big, but we all would come together when Good Morning America or Oprah would come or whatever. So that's how it all started with you. So I love the backstory on how you started this writers group, because do you also have, do you share each other's writing with each other? Do you have a writers group that you do that?
Not in the group here, not in the open group that the readers are in. We have what we call backstage, and that's a writers group. And there we will talk about it. We don't usually read preview stuff for each other, to kind of help along. But like Patricia talked earlier about the meetings we have at my house, and we usually do that once a year. And there we really do go into our not only our writing, but also our marketing efforts and trends that we see coming down the road in the
Good
industry.
for you.
So that is really like a working environment. And I'm so lucky because everyone is kind enough to drive and come to my house, and all I have to do is serve lunch.
And she serves a great lunch.
So I bet.
It's
I
a lot
bet.
of fun. It
Well-
really is. It's a full day of fun. And we've had, sometimes we've had authors that came from North Carolina, right?
Mhm.
South Carolina it is, Christine, and stayed over and everything. So it's really a lot of fun.
Well, what about being up in Ontario? I mean, that's amazing. But this technology, isn't this amazing? You guys can have
It
Zoom
is.
meetings.
It is. It's fabulous. I mean, I Zoom, I'm sure you do too. I Zoom with friends all over the world practically every week, and it's just fantastic, especially my community and friends. That's one way that I'm able to stay connected, even though I'm not able to get there.
I know, it's really hard. I do FaceTime with my kids. That's how usually we connect, but I'm
Mhm.
going to be looking more into Zoom. It's really, you can see a lot better and you don't get cut off as much. But the fact that we had, for the listening audience, we had a Zoom test meeting with, we have about 70 presenters, authors, keynotes, special guests that are going to be putting on this conference starting Thursday. And I invited everybody in for a Zoom meeting. We had 60.
That was great.
I don't know if you could see the shock on my face and how there were no glitches. It was just absolutely, I mean, Stephanie and I've had some things where we've done it together and we've had glitches, just the two of us. But to have people from out of the country, around the world joining us, you guys, do you realize that our whole world is about to expand exponentially? We are an international global book club and we welcome everybody. And that's why my book club is inclusive. I've always said, you know, anybody can join regardless of race, color, religion, economic background, because I'll scholarship somebody in if they can't afford the membership price. I, I would rather have somebody reading with us than not being able to afford to. And the fact that you know, I said, we'll let you in if you have color treated hair, if you've had cosmetic surgery. I try to make our book club fun because we come from all walks of life. And, you know, immediately when COVID hit, everybody said, what am I going to do about the roots? And I go, who cares? We're in our pajamas at home. Who cares?
Yeah.
So back to the conversation with all of you girls. So you have this, and how often do you do the Blue Sky chats?
Every day. You can
Every
go on
day.
Blue Sky every day. And not only do we post, all of the members post.
Yeah.
So
It makes it a
you never
lot
know what
easier,
you're gonna
doesn't
find. It's for anyone who loves literature, it's a wonderful place to go, especially now during the pandemic, because there's nowhere else to go. So there you are.
No kidding. Well, I share every one of those posts that I see that you guys, if I can do. I can't remember. Does yours have a share button? Some do and some don't.
Yeah, we do.
Oh
We
yeah,
do. We
great.
do.
Thank you. Because
We like that.
I like that too, but a lot of my friends' blogs don't. And I'll ask them, can I copy and paste this? Because this is just too important not to miss, or it's one of my authors. And I mean, after 21 years of us all meeting together, I know a lot of authors, you all. I had somebody say to me, well, I'm glad you made your book club global and diverse and it's international. I go, oh, honey, we've been that way from the start. So we changed our name because we thought people don't even realize that. They go, you just read women's fiction. I go, no, we read everything. So
Right.
I changed the title. And that's why this year we're going to have 12 books of the year and 12 international books of the year and all these bonus books. So we want to include everybody. I'm trying to help as many authors as I can. And I thank you for coming on board and joining me for the Girlfriend Weekend. Now that we've gotten kind of the backstory on how this group all started, let's delve in a little bit into your books. Marilyn, since we started with you, we'll continue. I know a lot about you because we talk a lot.
Oh, I thought you were just the FBI. I didn't realize it was from talking.
Honey. Anyway, I have dubbed Marilyn the book club comedian. And in fact, I've told her I will come on board as her agent to get her to every book conference in the country, because she just says things that are just,
Hilarious.
I mean,
She's
I just
hilarious.
am flabbergasted. You and Vince Spinato.
Yeah.
You know, Vince Spinato the other night on our Lucid House Publishing, the woman who helped him write the book is 81. And he has a $1,500 skincare line. And he said, look at Mickey, you know, the person that helped me, still just, I'm gonna lose it. He goes, look at her. She's really 107. But she uses my skincare. Doesn't she look great? And I mean, I spit my coffee. That is one of those priceless moments. And Marilyn does this to me every time. I mean, she came to Girlfriend Weekend with a bra over her turtleneck. I mean, you just don't know what she's going to do to lift and separate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Well, in my case, I really need to lift and separate. It's not,
well,
just for the
don't
book.
we all? But has anybody wore a bra during this pandemic? That's the big question.
That's
You know,
right.
I always said it, so you can't tell. We'll make all the men watching this wonder, won't we? Okay. So
But I'm living in pajama pants.
I have on my pajama pants with my fancy top. I'm just like those newscasters that wear shorts. Who cares, you all? I am not so into my own self and ego. I just throw some hot rollers in, flip on some mascara, lipstick, and run to the camera. So Marilyn, these books, where do you get your sense of humor?
You know, when I was growing up, we would sit around the table and we get 3 newspapers coming into the house: the New York Daily News, the New York Times, and the, I think it was called Newsweek from Long Island. And that's where I got my love of newspapers. And we would sit around at the kitchen table, me, my parents, and my 2 sisters, and everybody would have a piece of the paper. And then we would talk about
I love
we
that.
considered current events, which basically was, we talked about other people. So we would just make each other laugh. Of course, it's not a kind thing to say, but it's a true thing to say. And to this day, when my sister calls me, we can talk for an hour. And then before I hang up, I say to her, so do we leave anybody out? And we never leave anybody out. Okay. We never leave anybody out. So it started with that. And then I just realized that if I said something funny, everybody was going to pay attention at home. I wasn't funny at school, but in my house, that's what got everybody's attention. But it wasn't until the book came out and I went to a couple of book festivals and people would come up and say to me, oh, I was laughing. It was so fun. And I'd be like, really? I've been doing this at my kitchen table for 30 years. And all I hear from my kids is, Mom, give me another piece of toast. I mean, nobody cares.
You never get that from your own family. You never get, I know Billy Joel once said that his daughter couldn't stand to hear him sing. I'm just going, oh my God, that's crazy. That's crazy.
So that's where my sense of humor really comes from my family. We all find the same things funny and we're brutal.
Yeah, well, I love that. I love that. Shoot from the hip. You don't know what you're going to say. And we all know you love George Clooney.
Yes. And I'm marrying Cuomo.
The Gov.
COVID is over.
Can't love Cuomo.
You're so funny. I love it. Okay, well, next we're going to go on to drawing lessons. Patricia Sands, how many books have you written?
I've written 8. And actually, you asked about my other book. I just want to sneak it in now because I thought,
yay, because I'm dying to read it. Yeah, it's like
the Bridge Club.
Yes.
And it's a perfect pulpwood.
It is.
Book.
And you know, we've got another book coming out with RJ Lee has got a book out about a bridge club too. So I think, and we've got another one on Mahjong that we're going to be reading as a book this year. So I'm pretty pumped because what are we doing? The Queen's Gambit, learning chess.
Fabulous.
We're getting it back into card games, and I got several for Christmas. So tell us now, what was your first book that you wrote?
The first book, well, the first book I wrote was The Bridge Club.
Really?
Yes. 10 years ago, I self-published it. And this year, I re-released it.
And the cover is beautiful.
It's 10th year anniversary. And I've changed, I went through, did a slight revision, changed some things, tightened up the writing a little bit, incorporated the epilogue of the original book into the last chapter, and created a new epilogue that brings the ladies, because this is about 8 women who were friends all their lives and played bridge once a month. So the new book brings them back 10 years after the original book ended. And
can't wait to read it. Are you in a bridge club yourself?
I'm in that bridge club.
Okay. Was your mother in a bridge club?
This is about the 8 women, my real life bridge club, who have been friends all our lives.
Because my mother was in a bridge club.
Oh, yeah.
I can remember helping set up the cardboard tables and putting the bridge mix and the mixed nuts. And
of course,
my job was to take the whiskey sours, the empty ones off the table back to the kitchen. They drank during their bridge club meetings and smoked. I'm not kidding. My mother doesn't even smoke.
Well, it was back in the day.
They did the bridge clubs. And I remember secretly eating the little orange and the little cherry that was in the, I just love the taste of that whiskey. It's just little bitty. It was a different
I can imagine. I can see you doing it. But anyway, that was my very first book, which I really just wrote for the women in my bridge club. I had no intention of publishing. I was a retired teacher. I had never written anything other than academically. And I ended up self-publishing. And then I started getting letters and emails from readers saying, well, what else have you written?
Oh, wow.
And it was like, well, nothing.
Let me get busy.
That's right. And I realized I had become involved with the community of writers, which, as you know, is so amazing. And I learned so much from so many other authors and received so much encouragement. And hearing from readers was such a wonderful reward, where women would write and say, hey, you're telling our stories, and I had the same experience. And it was so good to read about women my age instead of everyone
Exactly.
being 30. So the Bridge Club starts when the women are 20 and goes right through into their 70s. But anyway, I shouldn't be talking about that book right now. So I realized I wanted to write more, and my husband and I had been going to France every summer for, well, at that point, 10 years. Now it's been over 20. And I knew I wanted to write a book set in the south of France, again, with the focus on more mature women. So that was where my next book happened, The Promise of Provence.
Oh, and the covers are
Pretty
great.
covers.
I don't know
Thank
who's
you.
doing your artwork, but fabulous.
Yeah, it was a freelance artist in Toronto, actually, that I got to do those covers. And that turned into a trilogy because I
wow.
would hear from people saying, well, what happened next? And that is when Lake Union Publishing, part of Amazon, contacted me and signed me to a contract and took the rights for the Provence book. So that was an interesting experience. And they encouraged me to write a standalone, and that was Drawing Lessons.
Well,
And I
as
said,
an artist, this book really drew me in, especially
yes,
little
I
people.
love it. And I love the
Beautiful.
cover.
Yeah.
And my agreement was with Lake Union that, yes, okay, I would write something other than my series, but it would still be set in the south of France, and it would still have a more mature woman as the protagonist. So Drawing Lessons is about 62-year-old Ariana Papadopoulos Webster from Toronto, who has had a very tragic emotional experience happen. And her family and friends have convinced her that she needs to try and move on with her life. And so she goes to the south of France to a 2-week artist retreat. And there she meets a collection of characters. And
What fun.
through their interactions, their stories, she begins to discover the artist that she always was. She had set aside that part of her life for a while, but she becomes drawn into it. And so that's really what this story is about, what happens to her when she's at this 2-week artist retreat, and the people that she meets and the changes that occur in her approach to the rest of her life.
Well, being a lifelong reader and an armchair traveler, wouldn't you say, I would like to know just quickly everybody's remarks on this, but wouldn't you say that when you read books like this, then you want to go there?
Yes.
Yes.
One of our slumber parties at our girlfriend weekend is going to be having you come dressed as the place you most want to go. And so think about that. Just pull something out from your closet, your trip
I
to
already
France,
have.
and there
And
you
of course,
go.
I always have this on my desk.
Da, da,
Because
da,
I can't,
da, da, da.
I can't go there at the moment. And Kathy, a really exciting thing that happened, and I won't go on about it because I could, but one of the things that occurred through my writing book set in France 7 years ago, I was approached by a travel company about organizing a tour. And for the last 7 years, I've done a 12-day tour for 16 women based on my books in the south of France. That's been one of the most amazing experiences of my life. These groups of women that come, most of them come on their own or with a friend, and they become such great friends. They stay together after the tours. And I'm sure you feel the same way about your girlfriend's weekends where,
Well, Stephanie runs the European tours that I go on with my Pulpwood Queens. And we've been to Greece and we've been to Italy. We did a little stop over in Germany. She goes all over the place, France. So she's been doing that for 20, how many years, Stephanie? Oh, you're on mute. Okay.
okay, I've got to read about that.
Oh, well, we cannot wait. Her trips to Italy have been postponed that she's supposed to be going on. But let me tell you, you would each appreciate each other because when we go with Stephanie, it's a world-class trip because you basically, you get your bags on the plane and you never have to think the entire rest of the trip. That's
Yes.
my kind of vacation. You know?
That's the
And
way to
all I have
travel.
to think about, because everything I pay ahead of time, is how to shop. And my friend Margie and I go, and we always have to buy another suitcase. So trying to get her, I'm trying to get her. There's some places I want to go now. I want to go to Turkey and Morocco, and I have not been up to Lake Como on the Italian Riviera. I've been on Sorrento and
Fabulous.
and Greece was island hopping, but I love the armchair, reading. Anybody else have any adventures with their books and traveling with to the places that they're set? Have you, any of you, done any tours? Yes, Betty.
I have an interesting story. It's not about my book, it's about Patricia's book.
Okay.
She writes a lot about people that do home exchanges and the province of Provence.
Great idea.
Well, she and I started talking about it, and I said, really, just let them come into your home? And she said, oh yeah, so she went through the whole thing with me. We ended up, as a result, exchanging homes with a couple in Paris that lived right in the heart of Paris. They had a nice apartment there. And we spent 3 weeks in Paris because of it. So
you're like Holiday. You're like that movie Holiday. I love
That's
that
right.
movie.
Yeah, that's right.
I would love to. People could come and stay here. They would love it.
I really recommend it. My husband and I have done 17 home exchanges, most of them in Europe.
Oh,
Yeah,
we're going to have
and-
to talk later because
All right.
I mean, are they real homes? Or are they, I mean, my house is only 1,100 square foot, but we have a lot of amenities here at Holly Lake Ranch. So, but are they little bungalows? Are they big places? Or
They've been everything. We've stayed in small apartments to beautiful villa in the middle of a private vineyard. The opportunities available through home exchange are really amazing.
wow, I love that. I love that. Well, let's move on to Barbara Davis. What a gorgeous. I mean, is this just like
love this book?
You in? And I have a thing about moons anyway. I mean, Lucid House Publishing, we've got our crescent moon on our logo and the stars. And I even have some, I call them my Lucid House pajamas I'm going to wear during Girlfriend Weekend. But the last of the Moon Girls, it reminds me of the Ya girls. And our very first book was Divine Secret of the Ya Sisterhood, where they all went out and they built the fire. So tell us about how this came about. And how many books do you have, Barbara?
I'm just finishing up number 7, like this week.
Wow, I'm so impressed. But really, you guys really put, as a working on all sides of the book table, the covers are so important, but this is a great one. So in fact, I have Midnight in the Garden poster in my home, and Before Women Have Wings, I have them framed and matted in my home because they're so beautiful. But tell us the story.
Okay, The Last of the Moon Girls is about Lizzie Moon, who grew up on an herb farm in New Hampshire, which is where I live currently, until I move down by Bettye next year. And she grew up on this herb farm. She is 9th generation member of a family of herbal healers. And she's been a little reluctant growing up to actually embrace this legacy. She was teased as a child, and they just had a whole different kind of a life. And than everyone else. No celebrating Christmas. They were basically pagan. So that she took it on the chin, and she was decided early on she didn't want any part of this. She, as soon as she could, she was going to get out and go make perfume, which was her love. And she was like senior in high school, and tragedy hit their town. And two young girls went missing. Two teenage sisters went missing. And immediately everyone turned, pointing the finger to her grandmother, Althea Moon, as the culprit. It had to be one of those crazy moon women, one of the moon girls. So this went on. Basically, the town ruined the farm, and it was just, you know, she was ready to go and convinced that she could just put all this behind her. And one day the sheriff comes knocking on the door with a warrant, and they drag the family pond, and these two girls actually turn up in her grandmother's pond.
Oh no. Yeah.
So she hangs out as long as she can, but she doesn't, she's just still can't wait to scoot. Her mother scoots before her after standing in the middle of the coffee shop downtown and calling a curse down on the entire town. Drunk as the Lord, high as a kite, and just making it, which is what she's always done. So she scoots out of town, and Lizzie is just like, I got to get out of here. There's just nothing left. The moons are just ruined. I got to go. Fast forward 8 years later, she's put all of this behind her. She's hit the pinnacle of her career in perfume making, and she gets a letter that her grandmother has passed away, and she sends her this, the woman that wrote the letter sends her a journal that is empty, and it's a journal that she was supposed to, all the moon girls get a journal when they turn 16, and it's basically for them to record their journeys as healers. And she never wanted any part of it, so she didn't touch it. So all of a sudden she gets this letter that her grandmother is dead, and the journal that she never wrote a word about. And she's inherited the farm. She goes back to close it up, and once she's there, she realizes, I'm not done here. I can't leave until I find out who killed those girls and clear my grandmother's name and the family name. And that what she does is make all kinds of trouble, get herself in all kinds of trouble, trying to figure out who murdered these two girls.
Wow. Well, these are great stories. I'm going to have to, if I could ever get a chance, I want to go back and read all these previous ones, but you guys, I got over 600 and some books this year. And
Coming
I have
out.
to hone it down to 12 books and 12 international, and then I try to get in as many others as I can. So great book. I would think that this book would be really great for Alice Hoffman fans, because
yes, I got a lot of the reviews that said that, and today I hit 20,000 reviews on.
oh my goodness.
Fabulous.
Because I've been a big Alice Hoffman fan forever, and when she came to Girlfriend Weekend, it was like,
I know.
I was like sitting at breakfast with her, and we're just chatting, and we found out so many things we had in common. I go, never in a million years did I think I'd be sitting having breakfast with Alice Hoffman, but she's awesome.
Bring you together with the greatest people.
Well, and what I love about when we all get together and when we get to know each other, you will have to get Alice back and get you connected, because I think, if we all work together with people, I try to blurb as many authors' books as I can. I can't review them anymore. Amazon has blocked me from being a reviewer, unfortunately. But yeah, they will not. I think they think I get paid for picking books, and I don't get paid for picking books. In fact, I make that, I've had a lot of bribes through the years of people saying, let me write a check. And I go, I'm sorry. Unless the story's there, I'm not going to pick your book. So, my credibility about the books I pick, I cannot be bribed. People send me presents all the time, and I adore them, but it doesn't have anything to do with, for people listening to this today, if you think you're going to send me that big old expensive bottle of champagne that I'll pick your book, you can send it, but the story has to be there. And so I really am intrigued now by everything that all of you guys are talking about of your books that you're doing. And Bettye, we've been trying to connect and do all these different things. So I'm so excited to see you in person. I'm so impressed with your marketing and everything that you're doing with your book.
Bettye is just
She's
amazing.
a machine.
But what a great, A Million Little Lies. That is the best title for a book ever. And it's it's one of those books that the title draws you in, and then you look at the image, you go, oh my goodness, what has happened here? So, if you can catch them from the very beginning on your story. But tell us now, how many books have you written?
25. Actually, I've written 3 other ones, but they're still in the drawer. They'll never come out.
You and Lisa Wingate. Well, hopefully we can take this one to the breaking that glass ceiling that she did with Before We Were Yours. Our 30th book, she sold over 1 million copies. Now it's well over 2 million. So come on, you guys, she's written all these books. We got to break some more of those glass ceilings with our authors. Bettye, you're next. So tell us a little bit about your story and how the story came about, because, everybody can read it, but I want to know what makes you want to write this story.
I think everyone writes something that somehow, some way has touched some part of their life. And it's a funny story how that one came about, and totally unrelated to the story. But, one time when I was in marketing and I wrote for business for many years before I started writing fiction. And I was the marketing director for a company, and I was with the tabletop division manager, and we were going to a breakfast in New York, trade breakfast. So we were running a little late, and we just managed to get there. It was like 9 o'clock it started. We just managed to get there about 1 second before 9, and we hurried in, and the girl at the door said, "Are you with marketing?" And I said, "Yes." And so she hurried us over to the head table and sat us down. Then they served us a scrumptious breakfast of all kinds of eggs Benedict and fruit platters and everything. And then the presentation started, and I was in the tabletop and giftware industry, and the presentation was on Maidenform bras. We were in the wrong place.
You were in Maryland. You're in Maryland.
We were in the wrong place.
Emma.
And,
Oh my gosh, that is the best story I've ever heard, Bettye.
There was nothing we could do at that point. So we sat there, and I'm saying, Dick, that was his name. I said, "I think we're in the wrong meeting." He said, "I know we're in the wrong meeting."
Well, how did you get out of there? Oh my God.
We just kind of nodded when somebody said something. We said, "Oh yeah." And then as soon as there was a break, we got up and screamed out the door. But I thought it's so interesting how one little mistake and somebody mistakes you for someone else, and it's not always that.
Oh, girl.
Wait a minute, I'm not that person. So in A Million Little Lies, she starts as a child. Her mother passes away when she's only 9 years old, I think it is. And she starts telling lies because her father is a real no good. And so she lies to cover up a bad home life. So she starts, and each lie builds on the next one. And that's kind of what the story is about, how all these lies build until they become a pyramid. Then when she's a woman, she's got an illegitimate child, and she's living with a man who's just as bad as her dad. And so she decides to leave him, and they leave from Florida, and she's hitchhiking. So she gets as far as Georgia, and she's trying to make do on a shoestring. And there's a whole lot of interaction in the story that you never hear when you just tell it this way. But she stops at the bus station, ends up seeing a flyer for a memorial service, and it's a free luncheon. So she takes her little girl and goes to the luncheon. And the widow mistakes her for the baby that went missing all those years ago. And she said, "Your grandfather always knew you would come home." Well, this was his second wife, so she didn't really know all the details either. So she moves in. She doesn't want to. At first she says, we're just gonna have lunch and we're gonna leave. And each time one stone rolls into the next and the next, and her lies become bigger and bigger and bigger until she builds a really great life for herself and her daughter. She's doing it mostly because of her 7-year-old daughter. So once she builds a great life for herself, you just know that bottom stone is going to roll out and everything comes tumbling.
Oh, good grief. Oh, yeah.
It's like you beware of who's knocking at the door. So it's a very heartwarming story.
Well, that's a
You have
great
got
story.
to tell this story. All of you have got to tell these behind the scenes stories to all our audience at Girlfriend Weekend, because the one thing I've learned about having these Zoom meetings as opposed to having my, actual where we meet in person, I'm so busy running it, I don't often hear everything. These are all going to be recorded so we can watch later over and over, and I will be watching them throughout the year. But it's the things that fascinate me the most are what you just told me, because I did that in junior high. I was the biggest little liar. It was terrible. I would make up all these stories. I don't even know if my friends even know this. I'm telling this for the first time ever. And then I got caught. And when you get caught big. And nobody trusted me. And so that's why my life now is an open book. I never lie. I learned my lesson really, really the hard way.
Mhm.
And so, your book just really drew me in, and it's a great story. And 20, how many? 20?
25. Well, it's 28, but 3 have never been published. When
Well, you need to come back like Barbara. Let's bring them out and put a new cover up.
when you make the transition from writing for business to writing for fiction, it's such a different thing,
But
because
you
when
could
you're writing,
go back and you could take them. We had Lisa when she wrote her very first book, Tending Roses. She's been with the Pulpwood Queens since the very beginning, and they re-released that book and it's doing very well. But when it came out, it was not well received. It's also, what I'm learning and it's not just 21 years I've been in the Pulpwood Queens. I was a bookseller. I was a book buyer. I was a book rep all before that. My life has always been about books. It's about timing. And sometimes you're just in the wrong place at the wrong time. So that's why you never give up, Bettye. Thank you for that story, because that is so inspiring to me. I'm going to hold it to my heart. And I've got an author. I'm going to quickly throw this in, because what a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of my Pulpwood Queen authors don't even start until after their careers have stopped.
Mhm.
So they begin. And one of my author friends, who really, she wrote books way back young in the day. In fact, if you've ever seen the character it was a series on Netflix set in San Francisco about a young woman from Ohio that goes to New York and lives. It was done with Olivia Dukakis. It was a wonderful series, and but it was based on her. Her name is Pat Montadon, and she just wrote, I'm putting a shout out to her. Her book is Recipes for Conversation, a guide to hosting authentic conversations in the digital age and a pandemic.
Cool.
That's how old Pat is. She's 92.
Oh,
Looks fabulous, darling.
I love it.
I was out there a year ago in October. She is one of my most inspirational authors, and she'll be on the list for 2022. And she's a former Miss Hairball Queen. So, you guys, the biggest buying audience in the world for books is baby boomer women. Linda Bloodworth Tomlinson, who created Designing Women, she stayed a week with me when she wrote her book, Liberating Paris. And she had seen me, I got featured in the Los Angeles Times. I got 3 pages in the Sunday calendar section on the front page called The Tastemaker. Only when I had 12 book clubs, they thought I was changing the world with reading. But to me, reading is the best entertainment in the world, because what connects us as people is the stories. And I did just like all of you did. I sat underneath the table of my grandparents as they played cards and dominoes. And I grew up in rural Kansas, southeast Kansas. And they'd forget cat soup. That was my nickname when I was a kid because I couldn't pronounce ketchup. I thought it, I go, what's cat soup? Well, it was ketchup. Anyway, I'd sit underneath there and I was a very quiet child and I would listen to those stories and the seed was planted in my mind that how can I take my life? How many of you wrote as children? How many of you wrote stories? Barbara, what was the books that made you want to become a writer as a child? I bet we have some same ones.
Charlotte's Web, for sure.
Oh my gosh.
I'm still crying over Charlotte's Web. I will never get over Charlotte's
Kill a
Web.
spider to this day. I scoop them on a piece of paper and throw them outside because of Charlotte's Web.
Exactly. I'm scarred. But yeah, that was, I was just so captivated with that story, and anything that could reach into my chest and rip my heart out like that, I wanted to do that to someone else. So I just started making things up.
Yeah. Anybody else have some childhood reads that got them going?
I have to say that it's going to the library is
Oh,
you're right.
Library in the Bookmobile.
I would go to the library on Saturday morning and you were allowed to take out 10 books. So I would take out 10 books. You know, New York, everything's bigger. So, and I would take out 10 books and carry these 10 books home without a bag, literally stacked in front of me for 6 blocks. Sit down on a chair and read all day.
Yep.
My mother kept saying, if you keep reading like that, you are going to be round shouldered. Guess what? She was right.
I got You'll Go Blind.
There you go.
Go outside.
To me, reading was escapism because I grew up in a very volatile family situation. I had parents that belonged to the country club, and on outward appearances, they drove the Cadillac. You know, they dressed to the nines. You know, my mother was a beauty and my dad was handsome, and everybody thought life was perfect. And you know, but it wasn't because they fought hard. And then us girls got caught into the fray. And for me, I didn't know how to deal with it. So I would crawl under the bed with my book and a flashlight, or I'd go up in the treehouse and I'd read, and I could escape that trauma. And I love both my parents very much. And I think that if they probably married other people, they probably would have been a lot better off. But they never remarried when they divorced, and they fought until the very end. My mother's still alive. My father passed away some years ago. And but I made peace. So it was really hard. So for me, reading was, I didn't get into drugs or alcohol or, you know, all these things people, when they have trauma in their life, go into. I would just go, well, if I didn't like the way life was going, I'd go read. And for a little while, or watch a film. For a little while, I was in Oz with Dorothy, or I was, you know, reading the tales of Old Yeller, or Island of the Blue Dolphins. We read a lot of animal stories. Our teachers read us, you know, Rascal and Mr. Popper's Penguins. We always were reading mostly Laura Ingalls Wilder too. And but the library is important. How many others went to I took my bike and threw them in the basket, you know, but how many others went to the libraries? And
oh yeah, my grandmother was the first librarian in a town in Northern Ontario where I first grew up. So I spent a lot of time at the library with Gran.
And you too, Bettye? You did too, go to the library? The town I lived in was so small, it didn't have a bookstore. It had the drugstore that carried the Archie comic books. And we had a newsstand that carried all the newspapers. For me, I read the Wichita Eagle every day, which was out of Wichita, Kansas. But in the back, they sold cigars in like those women magazines, you know? You didn't go back there as a kid, but we didn't have a bookstore. So when I wrote in my first book about I begged my mom to take me to the library because I read all the books in the school. And And when I went downstairs to the children's library for the first time, I can still smell it. You remember that scent of the books and the stacks, and I looked at all the color and the tables that you could sit at, and I read as many as I can. Well, and then she'd come down the stairs and it's time to go, pick two. Well, you know how hard it is to pick two books. And usually I thought, this is how my little mind worked. I thought she said you have them for 2 weeks. So I didn't think I could go back for 2 weeks to get two more. So I just longingly wait. And then, no, you could go every day if you brought the books back. But I didn't, that wasn't explained to me. But I remember Mrs. Milliken, the librarian, and she never judged the books that I picked. Did you ever have any censorship at the library at all? Never.
Not that I can recall.
Never. In fact, I went from reading all the books in the children's library, all the Nancy Drews and all that, and I went upstairs, and the first book I checked out was Breakfast of Champions by Kurt Vonnegut, because they had a new bookshelf and I liked the cover. And I reread it the other day and I was shocked. I was going, what must that librarian have thought? I mean, there's a drawing of an asshole, you know, I don't know. Anyway, she said, here you go, Kathy. She never said a word. And my parents never censored anything I ever read. Did you have, what was your experiences at reading at home? Jump in.
I was like you. I had the same, I grew up in the same family without the country club though. we had nothing. So thank God for the library. But there was a lot of fighting. There was a lot of financial stress, bill collectors, phone always ringing, knocking on the door. And books were absolutely my escape. I would read well into the night with the flashlight, like you, under the covers, thinking I was so clever. No one knew.
Yeah.
And then, of course they knew, and they just left me alone because they knew why I was doing it, why I needed to do that. You know, kids were playing with dolls. They were out with their bikes. I just wanted my book and leave me alone. And book saved my life.
Yep, me too.
My sanity.
Anybody else?
I was just thinking, Barbara, you didn't start out as a writer. Your story is so interesting.
Yeah, tell them.
I've done a lot of things. I was was a paramedic, and I was, for 15 years, I was a veterinary surgical tech. I was in real estate, and then I spent 13 years in the jewelry business. At the end of that, I was a vice president of a national chain, and I was burning out bad.
I remember this. I remember
80-hour week.
Okay.
Yep, just burning out. And I told my husband, I have got a year left. I've got to find something else to do. And, you know, the universe listens to what you say.
Oh my gosh, you must have watched that video I put out there today with Shah Rukh Khan. You've got to watch it.
Okay, I will. So about 10 months later, the 2009, the bottom fell out. Nobody was buying jewelry. They shut a bunch of stores, cut a bunch of people, and I got my pink slip. And I was devastated because I wasn't ready. I hadn't, even though I said I need to do something else, I hadn't really actually made a plan. Yeah. And apparently the universe knew that if I waited until I had a plan, I was just going to stay. So it kicked me out of the nest. And my husband said, you've been wanting to write that book. You've had a book in your head for 4 years. Stay home. Don't go back to work. Stay home, write the book, chase your dream, and I'll carry the load.
Oh, where is he? Let's all just give him a virtual hug.
Oh
Yeah,
my,
absolutely.
He's my fairy godfather. He's just everything. So I wrote that first book, not having a clue what I was doing. You know, trying to channel all my favorite authors, which is always the wrong thing to do. You have to at least pick one. So about 6 months into it, I thought I need to find out if I'm doing this right, or if I should just go get an application from Taco Bell and tag it. So I joined a writer's group, and the first night I went, I had submitted my stuff for critique, and I thought, well, this is it. They're going to break my heart, and this will be it. And then I'll just go find a job, and I'll know. And I'm sitting there across from this little tiny woman who listened to the critiques on my story, and I see her reading the pages next to her, you know, the woman who has my story next to her. And she hadn't said who she was. Everybody introduced themselves, and she said, "Oh, I'm just here to observe," which everybody thought was kind of weird. Nobody said anything. So at the end, I was thought, okay, well, that went pretty well. Maybe I'll stick with this. And I'm walking out the door, and here comes little lady, taps me on the shoulder, and she says, "My name is Nalini Akolakar, and I'm with Spencer Hill Literary Agency. I was here tonight undercover scouting new talent, and I love this story. Are you looking for representation?" And I'm like looking around for candid camera, because I'm like, this shit doesn't happen. Did my husband put you up to this? But she was for real, and I had a contract with them 2 weeks later, and 6 months later I finished the book, and she sold it in 2 weeks to Penguin. So
Wow.
Oh,
the universe listens to you.
you've got to keep sharing these stories. You guys,
Yeah.
this is amazing. It's
I was
amazing.
50.
You
I
know,
was 50.
the very first writers workshop I went to was being led by my Austin, Texas author friend, Christopher Cook, and I signed up for it, and I didn't know what I was doing. And they said, we had our first meeting, they said, "Tomorrow, bring us your first chapter of your book." I hadn't written anything. So I just quickly wrote down on a piece of paper, and then he said, we went around the room, and he said, "Read what you've written." And I read my story, which was about my friend Joyce Jackson Fooch, who I met when she came into my salon the very first time, because she'd just gotten her hair back from chemotherapy. It was like baby duck fuzz. I can't even, about that color. And then the story was that relationship, and how the last time I did her hair was at her funeral. And when I finished the story, I looked up, and the woman who was with the Writers League of Texas threw $30 on the table. And I said, "What's that?" She goes, "I want to buy your book now." And, you know, when people do those kind of things in your life, it made me realize that maybe I could write a book. So I'm always an encourager. I try to mentor all my artist friends. I went back to school at 59, so I have a lot of artist friends that are really struggling, trying to figure out how to do it. And I said, a lot of it, Bettye, is marketing. You have to learn how to sell yourself. And so I think by all of us working together, by you guys championing the Blue Sky Writers Book Chat, I think what you're doing is so wonderful. What I would like to suggest to you, and you don't have to answer me now, but I'd like to have you on at least once a month to do a conversation with you to share this unique group. And then next 2022, I want you guys to have your own panel. I want you to do it. And if one of you can moderate it, or I'll help moderate it, but your stories are important. And I think they're so inspiring. And, I don't know everybody's age, and I'm not going to reveal. I'm 64 and I feel like I'm just getting started.
You're just a kid, Kathy.
My 92-year-old friend can write a book,
I'm 34, Kathy. Kathy, I'm 34.
Frank Sinatra, you all. She has got more stories you would not believe. But what did you say? What did you say, Mary?
I'm 34.
Okay. All right.
Oh, gosh,
I really thought you were younger.
Marilyn, here I am going into my 40s.
I know. I know. I can be your mother. I could be your mother. But I had one of my authors on the other day, and he goes, 1974 is when you went to college. That was the year I was born.
Yeah.
And I go, okay, sonny boy, I could be your mama. But it's true. It's what we're being told in the media and out in the world today is not the truth. We're being fed a lot of misinformation. But if we all get out in the country and travel, like I did 2 summers ago, I drove all the way up to Rumson, New Jersey to deliver a painting. And I stopped and visited my Pulpwood Queens and all my artist friends and toured galleries. I found out this is a really cool world, y'all. There's a lot of people that are just ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
You're
A lot
so
of
right.
So that's what we're doing. We're the story keepers and the story sharers. So by us all joining hands and coming together and working as a community, you know, my book club convention is the only one in the world. What? How come Oprah doesn't have a book club convention? I mean, why not? Why doesn't anybody else have one? Well, first of all, it's a lot of work, but it's my passion and my joy, but it's not my agenda. My agenda is getting authors like you, your books in the hands of readers. So if we can work together, and if you will think about this, and we'll come back and talk later, I would love to offer you, because next year, you guys, I just heard today that 2021 is going to be a year of social distancing. We may not be opening up
Mhm.
in 2022 for a book club convention. It may be virtual again next year. That's okay, because I'm expanding it out for a week. A week.
Wow.
And I'll tell you why. They're too close together. I'm going tomorrow. I'm going to try to sleep because I've got 4 days and 4 nights. I'm going to be online. It's like a Guinness Book of World Records for authors. It's
Carve up.
insane. So what I'm going to do for 2022, if we're probably going to do it virtually again. We'll see. I'm going to spread it out over a week where we're going to have 2-hour breaks in between so we can nap, so we can work, so we can eat. But this year is an experiment, and I just want to thank you all so much for coming on board, for being such the generosity of sharing your stories, and they're incredible. And I'm going to show them all again for anybody that's just tuning in, because this is going to go up on my YouTube channel. I just want to show you Drawing Lessons by Patricia Sands. I'm holding it there for a while. Look at that cover. You have to read this book, especially for those of all my friends out there that are artists and that are really, you know, need inspiration. This is a perfect book to give to a friend or to share with your book club. Then we've got Marilyn. I'm seriously, I'm going to be booking her forever as the book club comedian. After this is over, she's going to give me her first comedy. I think she's my Mrs. Maisel and I'm that agent. Have you seen that
There
show?
you go.
I'm that little bulldog agent that's going to take her around to all the comedy clubs everywhere. But it's going to be, I've signed a board. I told her I have to be your agent because you're hilarious. So we've got Lift and Separate and Husbands and Other Sharp Objects. For those of you, and men will enjoy this book too.
Oh yeah.
You want to know what not to do? Okay, read these books. Okay, then The Last Moon Girls. Oh, you know, for all of us that dream of being, you know, the Divine Sisters, the Ya-Ya Sisterhood, Practical Magic. I mean, my grandmother was one of those people that did poultices and rub the Vicks Vapor Rub and all that stuff. I understand that mentality completely. In fact, I need to connect you with Rebecca Rosenblum, who runs a lavender farm in California.
Right.
And who works with Breathless Wine. And, you know, for all of you that are going to be official book club selections, your book of the months get a gift box book with their award-winning wine. It just got featured in Forbes, and it's won Winery of the Year. And we're going to have a Breathless Bubbles and Books BYOB slumber party. So at home, we're going to have you all dress up and drink your own bubbly. We're going to have fun with it. And that both Rebecca and Sharon Cohn are going to be there. And then for A Million Little Lies, okay, all my secrets are going to be known. You guys, I let it be known today that I didn't tell the truth when I was in junior high. I'm so sorry. In fact, right now it's complete blank. I can't remember anything about junior high. I kind of went through a fat, pudgy stage for a while. So it was, you know, it's really awesome. But anyway, read this book because it's a story that you won't be able to put down. And then, did I get everybody? And then Stephanie, I wish I had your books right here, but the Mamma Mia books, and she has a wonderful, beautiful coffee table book that is my inspiration for decorating, which I'm really into in my house. But you guys, all of you are going to be featured this year, throughout the year, for coming to Girlfriend Weekend. It's not just Girlfriend Weekend. I want to tell you, I'm going to have you hosting Breathless Bubbles and Books. We're going to bring you to the West Coast audience and to all of those people around the world. TK Thorne is guest hosting this week, and she'll be joining tonight for my every Tuesday night at 7:00 is my online book club meeting. And join me, because we're going to join you when I get you on the show. And then I'm going to be doing a book to film. So if any of you get any kind of inkling of a television series or a book to film project, message me, because we'll get you on the show. I know Marcy Henn is going to be at Girlfriend Weekend and has the wonderful new, her book went to film starring Cloris Leachman and Melissa Gilbert, and it's awesome, you all. And it was filmed in Oklahoma and Georgia, and she's just one of my dearest ardent supporters down in Austin, Texas. So she's going to be on board. And then Vince Spinato has a fabulous documentary that's going to be going around the world. We have a lot of authors that have gone to film that I've been showcasing on the show, including Lorraine Dupree, who is now, you guys, my mentor. She has now just been brought on to be the book reviewer for the Los Angeles Times, and she's a Pulpwood Queen.
Oh, fabulous.
Also wrote an episode of Who Shot JR on Dallas, and she got me my entertainment agent and everything and helped me negotiate that contract with DreamWorks. So y'all, I just cannot thank you enough for this wonderful thing. We'll continue the conversation. Let's all get ready for Girlfriend Weekend. All I can say is go to bed now, because you're gonna need.
I'm on edit deadline. I can't go to bed
with toothpicks on my eyes, or I mean, I literally have my thermos of coffee sitting beside me. I may have an IV before it's all done, if I'm afraid to death of needles. But we're going to keep it fun. You can wear anything you want to wear. I mean, this is the one time, if you've ever wanted to wear a cape and be like Wonder Woman, this is the time to wear it. I had a woman show up who was almost 90 one year for Girlfriend Weekend, and our theme was Once Upon a Time. It was a fairy tale themed, and she came in a full wedding dress with veil and everything. And I said, it's an interesting, is this from one of the fairy tales, maybe when Cinderella got married? She goes, no, I've just always wanted to be a bride. I just thought it was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life, because she had the white wedding dress on, and we had a guy come, one of the authors came dressed as the Beast from Beauty and the Beast. So he was escorting her everywhere, and she just loved it. But this is your opportunity to have fun and play, share the stories. And believe me, I'm going to be sharing yours all this year. Anything you want to tag me on, anything you want me to share, send me the link. Send it to me, either tag me on Facebook or social media, or send it to me in email. I don't trust Messenger anymore, because I keep getting too many things sent, and I think it's somebody. And when you go, what are you up to? And they go, hi, how are you today?
Yeah. Hello,
yeah,
lady.
right.
Lisa, what? Why are you so formal? I hope you're having a wonderful day. And I'm going, that's not the way Lisa and I talk. But yeah, she got hacked. And so whatever I can do to help you, this is my life. This is my livelihood. And, call me. You guys, you can message me and I'll send you my phone number. We can talk by phone too. We can set up just a private Zoom. The more conversations I have, the happier I am. The cat likes to talk. So let's keep the conversation going. Send me, if you can get your publisher to send me a free book, I'll read it, because I really went through, I have stacks, literally. I don't know if you can see them, but they're all over the floor around me. Everything is trying to get organized for this big thing, because I really want to be able to show, all your books, all your wonderful books. And because this is what I do. this is what I do. I am in the world of books save my life. Thank you for saving mine. And let's continue. And now for everybody who is going to listen to this later, please like, watch, subscribe to my Kathy L. Murphy YouTube channel. All of you girls, please do so too, because all of the videos that we're going to be doing at Girlfriend Weekend will be downloaded on that channel for you to watch privately throughout the entire year. So we hope that at the end of the year, those will all be made public so that you can share them, and I'll use those to promote the next year. But just rest up, you know, get that B12 shot, whatever it takes to get you through it. It's going to be so much fun. Last words. I'm going to open it.
Thank you.
It will be. Kathy, thank you so much. This has been great.
Talk about
Kathy?
generosity. I don't know anybody more generous than Kathy.
Well,
Kathy, I had a great time, and we could talk for a few days next time we.
yeah, we could have a marathon blue sky book chat. You know, I don't know. Maybe we can have, you know, a writers group, because I'm back to working on my second memoir, The Pulpwood Queen Goes Back to School, that has to be out before 2022. So and it's the continuation of the Pulpwood Queen's Tiara Wearing Book Sharing Guide to Life, and my life's lessons through every mistake I've ever made. Vince Spinato said, when you read my book, he goes, my advice is to you, don't do anything I did and you'll be all right. And I've always told people everything I've learned has been really through my mistakes. You know, don't lie, tell the truth. I'm a big Rotarian, and that's one of the things. Is it the truth? Is it beneficial to all concerned? I'm all that way now. But the thing about it is, it's all of us working together that's going to take us into a better world and a better place. So thank you, Blue Sky Writer.
Thank you to Tiaras.
My tip of my tiara to all of you. Until next time, I'll be talking to you shortly, Marilyn. So,
Okay, because we have a lot more to say.
we have a lot more to say, and we have
Days.
a lot more. And let's make, you know, I call this the final chapter of my life, but you know, I don't know.
No.
107.
You're just a kid, Kathy.
Not a skincare. Yeah. So,
Hair care.
all right, everybody. See you there, and just have fun with whatever you wear. Tiara on.
Tiara.
Absolutely.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.